evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society Network, and tonight we got a special Vol Society Live. Tonight, you take over the show. We sent out a post earlier today and even yesterday talking about. So, what do you want to talk about? Little homage to the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So, what do you want to talk about? Well, we got some great suggestions. Do you want to talk about the basketball team, football team, recruiting, the weather? What do you want to talk about? Tonight is your show. And Phil is here saying, hi, David and Brad. Good evening. And Phil actually ended up commenting on one of our posts talking about the Tennessee basketball team. So we'll jump on Phil's topic really quick here. Talk about the Tennessee men's basketball team. The reason we're kind of doing Vol Society Live tonight actually kind of helped out. Normally we have been doing these shows every Tuesday night throughout football season, but once we get into basketball, it kind of shuffles our schedule around due to Tennessee playing on a Tuesday or Wednesday. But this is kind of the rare week where the Vols don't play on a weekday. The next time they'll play is on a Saturday against Vanderbilt. So we'll go ahead and talk about the Tennessee men's basketball team starting off. Phil made the suggestion, and like I said, we don't have to necessarily talk basketball tonight. If you want to talk about anything else, we'll jump into the comments, leave your comments or your questions, and we'll get the show on the road and we'll discuss it. But we'll jump into Phil's topic first thing off. Tennessee men's basketball team. Tennessee picked up a huge win last Saturday, a 91-71 victory over the Alabama Crimson Tide. What can you say about Dalton Knecht? I mean, you talk about somebody that has made an immediate impact in the college basketball. In my opinion, he's probably right next to Zach Edey, probably the best college basketball player in the nation right now. It's just unbelievable what he has done. Now, Saturday, ended up putting up 25 points, but you go back to the Florida game last Tuesday, 39 points for him in that game, and then going back to the Saturday before, 35 points. Definitely, and just already acclimating back-to-back SEC Player of the Week, already named to the Oscar Robertson Player of the Week, and also the Naismith Player of the Week. So Dalton Knecht is just really taking Tennessee basketball by storm. Just a fantastic addition to this team. Phil says, suppose I will be at Vanderbilt next Saturday if things don't change. That's awesome. Hopefully you get together with that game Saturday at Memorial Gym in Vanderbilt, one of the more unique gyms and arenas in college basketball, indeed. But I really love seeing what Dalton Knecht can do. Like, it's been a while since we've had really a go-to constant scorer on Rick Barnes' team. It's we've always had decent offense up to good to great offense, but never that go-to guy that feels very confident in his shot, and he's doing it night in and night out, and it's just so exciting to see that. What he can do each and every week. And I'm also really impressed with Jonas Aidoo, just his constant improvement each and every game. I mean, last year, you had Uros Plavish as the main center, and you had Aidoo and Awaka kind of the backup, and now Aidoo kind of takes over that role. And I wasn't say concerned at the beginning of the season, but seeing how he would transpire throughout the season, and he has just really blown my expectations away. And last Saturday, 19 points for Aidoo. Just feels very confident in his game. To me, that's where I think Tennessee, with Dalton Knecht and Jonas Aidoo, and then your veteran leadership of Vescovi and James, if everything clicks together, I think this can be a magical season for Tennessee basketball. They're playing really great right now. I hope they're not peaking too early here in January, because we want them to still play consistent going into March Madness. And it feels like we've kind of seen this before, where we're peaking in January and February and we're red hot. And then once we roll into tournament time, it becomes a quick ending for us. So hopefully this is not just another peaking way too early, but I really, truly believe this team, if everything clicks together, can be a very magical season. But, as far as, let's see here. Phil says, well, I'm waiting to see our team fire again at Kentucky. Oh, yeah, their team fire again at Kentucky. Yeah, that's going to be, and like I said, we get a home and home with Kentucky coming up. Hello to my grandparents watching along. We got a home and home with Kentucky coming up. Matter of fact, on February the 3rd, that is now a 8:30 Eastern time tip-off on ESPN from Rupp Arena. And then we play Kentucky the very last week, very last game of the season on March the 9th, a 4 o'clock tip-off from Thompson-Boling Arena. So big opportunities right here. Miss K, our Vol Society mom watching the losses. Number 3 is my boy. That'd be old Dalton Connect. Yeah. Dalton Connect has he's just a magical player. And, looking at his stats right now, averaging 18 points per game, shooting 47% from the field, 47% from three-point land. I mean, just been a remarkable story this year in college basketball. And I'm just, like I said, I'm excited that, number one, he came to Tennessee, and number two, that, he's just really acclimated that to Tennessee lifestyle. Miss K says I'm going to adopt him. Very much so. You'll have Brent, Brad, and Dalton, along with the grandbaby. Be a house full there. And like I said, continue to leave these comments and your questions. Like I said, tonight's your show. What do you want to talk about? Leave your comment, whether you watch us on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Like I said, leave your comments. We can talk about anything tonight. If you want to talk basketball the whole time, that's fine. If you want to switch to football, this is your show tonight. I mean, you're always a part of Vol Society Live each and every week. But there's a lot going on right now as far as sports goes. So we figured, hey, let's turn it over to y'all. And Miss K says, Lord hell. And quick shout outs to Chris and Z-Dog leaving us a like on the Facebook page. All right. And Z-Dog says, we lost to Mississippi and struggled with Georgia, came back and won. Yeah. Lost to Mississippi State and struggled with Georgia, came back. Yeah. I think that comeback win, Z-Dog, really kind of just built this confidence of where we're going, because I was nervous about that Georgia game, especially being down that big. I'm thinking, oh no, here we go again, dropping another big time road game. But they did felt confident towards the end, went on that 25-1 run and ended up pulling the win out. And this is a road game coming up Saturday against Vanderbilt. Now you're taking on a Vanderbilt team that's not played their best ball at all this year. As a matter of fact, they're last in the SEC, and I think them and Missouri are still the only two teams that haven't won an SEC game. But still, Vanderbilt always plays us tough. This is their big rival game, kind of like we get ready to play with the likes of a Kentucky or even an Alabama. They'll be ready for us on Saturday. And I kind of wish we had a game this week a little bit to continue this momentum, but having, I guess, a kind of a breather after playing two big rival games in Florida and Bama and winning significantly, kind of catch our breath a little bit and then jump right into a big stretch coming up between this game and then next Tuesday night with South Carolina and then the big one at Rupp. Chris watching us tonight says, what are your thoughts on just the 25% chance to win the conference? I think it should be at least 40. Yeah, I think we got a really great shot of winning it. I think it's going to, at the end of the year, it's probably going to come down to Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn. They have been, to me, the three most consistent teams I've seen this year. Bama was undefeated up until last Saturday, but they just kind of, they kind of just went cold shooting, even though, well, I mean, they have been the number one offensive team in college basketball, but I just worry about their depth issues a little bit going down the stretch, and they're going to be taking on some tough competition along the way. But I think it's going to be one of these three teams, and I think Tennessee's certainly in the mix. And I agree, Chris, it should be about 40. Herb, now watching us tonight, talking a little football here. What are you hearing about possible O-line and D-line? Tennessee has a good possibility signing out of the portal. Well, we end up picking up a huge offensive lineman. I guess this week back on Sunday in Lance Hurd. That's a huge pickup for Tennessee. For especially on the left tackle. For those who don't know, Gerald Mincey, who was playing left tackle and right tackle for Tennessee, hit the transfer portal after he told Tennessee that he was coming back. And he ended up hitting the transfer portal going to Kentucky. So Tennessee had to find somebody else to line up on the tackle position. So John Campbell, who played left tackle last year, is now going to make that transition to right tackle, and Lance Hurd fits right into the mix. So that's a big pickup for us. And I think Tennessee, they're very confident of who they got back. I hadn't heard anybody else that they look for in the portal. D lineman, they did pick up a kid from Stanford. I forgot to write his name down before I went on the air, but they did pick him up this week. That's a matter of fact, I think it was the same day when Lance Hurd ended up transferring to us. He ended up signing in there, so I think that provides more depth issues. But Tennessee's very confident as far as like who they're bringing back on offensive line and defensive line with Cooper Mays, Spraggins and Crawford, and Campbell, and now you're going to add Hurd. And then the defensive line, Elijah Simmons announced he's coming back on that D line. So along with Mari Thomas, I mean, Tennessee's very confident, Herb, as far as their interior lines on both sides of the ball, and that's very, very promising to see. Let's see here. Kevin watching us tonight says, "Go Vols basketball and getting them quality of recruits in football." Absolutely, yeah. Big pickup on Monday. George McIntyre, 5-star quarterback, or eventually will be 5-star next year, from Brentwood Academy in Nashville, signed to the University of Tennessee. Huge pickup for Josh Heupel. George McIntyre, the grandson of former Vanderbilt head coach George McIntyre, same name. Football pedigree. His uncle was Mike McIntyre, or is Mike McIntyre, who previously coached at Colorado, and I think he's at FIU, or just recently was let go at FIU. So lineage there. I love seeing Coach McIntyre. Phil said he took my questions. That's okay, Phil. Phil was asking here later on, how do I think our recruiting football gets George and Lance Hurd changed the subject a little bit. That's okay. Yeah, we kind of cover here. Yeah, I really love what George McIntyre, just kind of his story and seeing some of the interviews of him. Especially it's kind of a fresh breath air, or whatever the cliches. It's a good change to see, especially with players, kind of everybody thinks that these high school kids are going after NIL. And yeah, some of them are, and most of them kind of are. But it's kind of good to see his story. Like, he grew up a Vol fan, and there's pictures of him when he's a little kid wearing the UT shirts and jerseys and hats and stuff like that, and birthday parties, and with his football background and going to Tennessee games. It's a nice change to see a kid that grew up in the state of Tennessee from Nashville. His dream was to play quarterback at the University of Tennessee, and now he's going to accomplish that goal coming up in 2025. He's just a high school junior, still got another year to go. He's a great high school basketball player. He's got some scholarship offers to play basketball, but I think he's going to focus on football. So, yeah, definitely I'm very excited to see what he can do. Of course, I'm excited about Nico for next year. And even if Merklinger gets to play, I'm excited to see what he can do. And then George McIntyre from there. So Tennessee's really building a nice quality quarterback room right now. And it's kind of fitting that 30 years ago, quarterback room at the University of Tennessee has a Pro Football Hall of Famer and a brand new enshrinee to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Todd Helton. Before we went on the air, was announced as the newest member of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. He'll be going in this summer, so congratulations to him. Just kind of fitting there. Let's see, Kay says, I'm still concerned with Kentucky and South Carolina, going back to basketball. South Carolina, I've seen them a little bit. They got a really good player in Michi Johnson, averaging about 17 a game, and Cooper. I think he's like in one of the top rebounders in the league. It's gonna be a little challenging going on the road, but I think Miss K will be okay. The Kentucky one is going to be that's going to be a battle to me for the SEC championship. And then she just said, "Connect, connect. He's our man. If he can't do it, nobody can." Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Like I said, this is your show tonight. What do you want to talk about? Like I said, we got some good discussions with basketball and recruiting and football. Get some more shout outs here while you're typing away. Shout out to Tracy, Pastor Scott, my dad, Kevin, and then shout out Chris and Sea Dog again. Kevin says, if our boys play defense like we did against Alabama, then no worries. Yeah. I mean, even 71 points seems like a lot, but I really, like I said, the way our defense really handled them very well. Like I said, Alabama was coming into that game averaging 90 a game. Them and Kentucky are two of the top scoring teams in college basketball. And, yeah, I really love we were forcing turnovers on them. Just could not really get into a good sync for the most part, even though they still put up a lot of points. And then which transitioned into points for us. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. And like I said, that's kind of Rick Barnes' bread and butter is that defense, that just aggressive, heavily guarded defense that he does. And it's going to work. It's going to work a lot of nights. Any others? Get a little cocoa action here. Excuse me. But yeah, we got some really good games coming up. I'm excited about what February is going to line up for Tennessee. Like I said, still got 2 more games in January to go. You got Vanderbilt. Actually, we are at home against South Carolina. I beg your pardon. I think I said we were on the road. That's on me. I do know. I believe we do go to their place sometime. Yeah, back down in March. Okay. Tracy watching us tonight talking about the Lady Vols. Lady Vols are hanging in there, but don't seem to have it this year. Yeah, yeah, Tracy. That's kind of been to me the big disappointment. Kind of with all the sports going on is Kelly Harper's team. Congratulations for Kelly Harper. She did pick up her 100th win as Lady Vol head coach on Sunday. But to me, I think this team is way too talented to have the record that they have. With Rakia Jackson and Sarah Puckett, and then you got Ace Strickland coming off the bench. I mean, and Darby. I mean, it's just really kind of been frustrating at times, especially in big games where we've just end up coming up on the losing end. But then again, you see what the Lady Vols can do. They took care of a very improved Vanderbilt team on Sunday, and then can rack up some wins every once in a while. It's just I'm a little concerned how they're going to do with the likes of an LSU and a South Carolina, and right now it doesn't really look that promising. But I don't think Kelly is on the hot seat. But there are some groans from the Lady Vol faithful. It just all depends on how they do in the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to get in. I mean, they're still I think the only team that's made every NCAA tournament since the women started doing the tournament. And, if they're on the bubble, it can be could be a dark time. Well, we shall see. Anything can happen. Phil says, I think Dalton can drive down the hill on anybody he wants to. Yeah. Yeah, Dalton is like I said, Dalton is very confident in his game. I love just his confidence. And yeah, he had that had an impressive dunk, which was, on a breakaway by himself. But yeah, he's not scared of anybody in the paint. And of course, I really like what he could do as far as in the perimeter and just those open shots. Just a very talented player. Yeah, okay. Miss K says George McIntyre says it was his calling to come to Tennessee. Yeah, that's definitely so. Going back to the 5-star quarterbacks, it was his calling to come to Tennessee, and Tennessee answered the call. So yeah, I'm excited to see what McIntyre could do. Like I said, still got to wait, at least a couple more years. But like I said, very promising QB room and a very promising future for Tennessee football. Uh, I mean, we know what happened in 2022 when you have an elite quarterback running Josh Heupel's offense. We saw great success with that. Last year, not so much. Even though we did end up getting 9 wins, and at times we have flashes of brilliance. But now with 2024 and Nico being there now for 2 years, learning the playbook, there's a lot of expectations, and we'll see what happens. Herb watching, well, he has been watching, says he is watching Kentucky versus, okay, I got the Kentucky spelling there. Kentucky and South Carolina right now. Tennessee has a huge advantage over Kentucky on defense. I feel good about the Vols with their improved offense this season. Go Vols! Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'm. It's gonna be a good battle. I know Kentucky. Uh, I know Kentucky's got a lot of the big tall guys. They with Aaron Bradshaw and then Big Z that just joined the team over the weekend. But it seems like they kind of go out more on the perimeter too. So, and of course, they're a hot shooting team too. So I think if we can shut them down, it could be a similar situation, Herb, kind of like Alabama. I just know we go to Rupp first, and that's going to be a tough place to get a win at. I mean, it's been done before, but it's kind of one of those rare occasions, unfortunately. Kevin's saying same here, and then Miss K says George comes from a football family. Yeah. Like I said, his granddad was the former Vanderbilt coach, George McIntyre from the 80s. Uncle coached at Colorado. I think his dad may have coached somewhere. And even played. So, great pedigree and definitely in the genes. And I can't wait to see him when he gets on campus. Any others you can come up with? Any other topics or discussions? Watching us on all our social media pages. This is your show tonight. What do you want to talk about? It's like I said, hopefully everybody's still staying safe and warm. If you got the snow or still have the snow, it's going to melt. Hopefully this week. So thankfully they'll be gone. And if you're not in the snow, I know we have viewers in Florida. Hey, enjoy the sunshine. Phil says, well, Kentucky gets a lot of home cooking. That's true. That is very true. Kind of like a lot of teams in the SEC, but definitely Kentucky's the worst of the bunch. Anywho, any others? Got some good stuff going on here. I think I mentioned, just a minute ago, we got to get big February coming up with Kentucky, home game with LSU, which should be all right with that. A&M on the road at Arkansas, which, man, Arkansas disappointing this year. Not crying over saving, leaving. Miss Catherine says that. I'll get to that in a second. Z-Doc says Vols baseball is ranked in the top 10 as well. Yeah, I need to. Yeah, we'll be start previewing a little baseball coming up next week on Ball Society. I need to get the pictures saved to my phone, and then I'll preview the roster for there. But yeah, another top 10 tee for Tony Vitello, Drew Beam. A lot of good transfers coming in. Already getting All-American nominations. You got Manny Fernandez's son coming aboard. So, yeah, very promising. I think it's going to be another exciting baseball season. And definitely a team that's definitely going to be a favorite to get back to Omaha. Confidence very high. Of course, Still doing the renovations at the baseball stadium. When I went up for Tennessee, Illinois, they were renovating down the third base line into left field. Behind home, behind the wall there, if you will. So there's still some renovations going on there. So hopefully they'll be ready by the time baseball season rolls around, or at least they'll probably still be working it. But we shall see. But yeah, I'm excited about that too. Excited about Vols baseball. Kay says I'm not crying about Saban leaving. I'm not either. I think I'll say this about Nick Saban because I can't remember if we mentioned this already on the show or not. Well, no, we hadn't, because the last Vols Society Live we did was the Citrus Bowl. Yeah, yeah. As far as Saban goes, as Vols fans, we're kind of happy that we don't have to see him again. But Nick Saban, at least in our generation, the greatest college football coach of all time. The 7 national championships for them. He made a historic mark in the business and took college football to significant heights, where it is. Well, Carlos watching us tonight says, "Vamos Vols! Vamos Vols!" Carlos, one of our guests on Good Old Rocky Talk back in the fall. Glad to have Carlos on tonight. Bill says, "I live in Kentucky. Excuse me. I live in Kentucky. Know what got to put up with my sister is a diehard Kentucky fan." Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there are a lot, and I know a few myself, Kentucky basketball fans. So I mean, they're passionate about it, but man, they're very sour when it comes to them losing. They don't really say much, which is funny compared to other fan bases, but it is interesting. But big time rival. In other words, continuing on, Herb says, "What are your thoughts about Bama losing so many players, football players in the transfer portal? Breaks my heart. LOL." Yeah, yeah, I feel the exact same way. Yeah, it's kind of the new way of college football. When you have a coach leaves, a lot of players who committed to play to Saban probably doesn't want to play for Caleb DeBoer, and probably the same way maybe Caleb DeBoer didn't want certain players, and he's kind of a similar situation with Deion at Colorado. And hey, here's who we're going to play, and if you don't like it, somewhere else too. So we shall see. It's just the way it is. Carlos says, "Keep on doing a good job. Great job, man. Happy to be a guest. We have a couple episodes that we are shooting this week. We'll be sharing soon." Carlos hosts Vamos Vols, profiling University of Tennessee athletics, particularly our Hispanic and foreign VFLs or athletes on campus, promoting sports at UT that send back to their home country, and showing what they're doing at the University of Tennessee. Does a great job, and definitely check that episode back. I believe back in October with Carlos, when we had him on Good Old Rocky Talk. Great story. And thank you, Carlos, for being a part of our show tonight. Miss Case says, "My heart too," about the Bama. About about the Bama transfer part. Yeah, it is what it is. So hopefully, as far as what Caleb DeBoer can do at Alabama, it's gonna be an interesting challenge. My prediction is, for now, I think he'll probably kind of have like a Brian Kelly first season, where he's probably going to come out and have a really great season. I'm not going to say go undefeated and win the playoffs, but I definitely think he'll have a great first season, and everybody be like, "Oh, Bama's back." But I think that year 2 and year 3 is going to be going to be very interesting to see if he can continue that momentum. And we're kind of seeing a little bit with Brian Kelly. He's not on a hot seat or anything either, but I want to see what he can do year 2, year 3 once he finally gets settled in. Because I think year 1 he'll probably get a mulligan, unless he just like totally doesn't make a bowl game or something crazy. Phil says, is Nick Saban going to ESPN? That's kind of been the rumor going around. Could be joining College Game Day. Uh, Lee Corso is, I think, 88 years old. He says he's coming back next year, but unfortunately, Corso has missed some game days due to his health and travel arrangements, and that's, in my opinion, that's kind of why they brought Pat McAfee on last year to kind of like uh, eventually take over for Corso. But it seems like now they're kind of letting McAfee kind of do his own thing uh, with Game Day and ESPN, and Nick Saban could be kind of in that driver's seat. And like I said, Game Day. I mean, Game Day still draws in big ratings for ESPN. But if you bring in a lack of a Nick Saban, it could draw more interest to the game and Bama fans and stuff like that. It could happen, but also Nick Saban's 72 years old. He wanted to spend more time with his family and spend time kind of just probably doing something with football, but besides coaching. So, I mean, anything can happen. This case says absolutely he'll do ESPN. I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see it. I think it'd be kind of a pretty welcoming addition. I mean, you do have a lot of big time personalities on that show, and Saban, while he does have a personality, it's not like a an overbearing personality like a McAfee and or maybe a Desmond Howard. He's going to be very kind of relaxed, but probably fun. Kevin says 60-44 South Carolina. Whoa. So let's take a look there. Yeah, now 62-44, 7:38 to go. Number 6 Kentucky on the ropes to the Gamecocks. Maybe, and that South Carolina game at home is now being more interesting. Wow. I was not expecting that. Yeah, now I definitely feel better. I mean, I flipped it on a little bit before we went on the air, but I hadn't really fully paid attention, kind of prepping for the show. So I'm kind of looking at the stats here. Yeah, sorry, I'm being quiet here. Yeah, Mitchell's got 11, Bradshaw 4, Big Z's only got 3, Dillingham's got 11, Shepard hasn't scored. Wow. Yeah, so I mean, South Carolina's just kind of shut them down. Michie Johnson with 7, Cooper with 16. Wow, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think we may have a court storming tonight in Columbus. Greg watching us says only shooting 38% from the field, a lot of turnovers. All right, thank you, Greg. Phil says, is Brian Kelly going to Michigan? Huh. So yeah, the big rumor going around, Jim Harbaugh may be heading back to the NFL, particularly the LA Chargers. And I guess if this does happen, Brian Kelly could be going to Michigan. But I mean, that would be if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're probably laughing at that because kind of left you out for dry. But man, that would be a shocking move if Kelly does decide to leave LSU to go to Michigan. I don't know. I can't really. I mean, he could, but man, I just don't know if that would be a great fit. Going back to the Big Ten, I think he's fine at LSU. I think he's. I mean, yeah, you're seeing coaches trying to settle into an SEC school or a Big Ten school the way college football's changing, especially going into the next year. You've got, the 2 heavyweights right there. But I think if I'm Brian Kelly, even if Harbaugh leaves, I would just settle in Baton Rouge. And Greg says, yeah, money, money, money. I mean, that's true. I mean, if you're going to open the checkbook up and give a big pay, yeah, I guess I could see him leave it. I don't know. I think he would probably stay, but hey, money talks, they say. So And you talk about, man, that would really open the floodgates for LSU in the transfer portal, even Michigan, because then they would be eligible. But it seems like Michigan, a lot of their best players are going to the NFL, already declared for the NFL. So I'm not sure who's all returning back for them. I think most of them, everybody's going to the league. Let's see. Greg says somebody will be the next leader of the SEC now that Saban is gone. I think Kirby Smart is trying to take that role right now. I mean, in my opinion, that's kind of who the next leader is. Two national titles after 3 years. I mean, the number one recruiting class, to me, probably the best run program right now in the and not only in the SEC but college football. To me, I think it's Saban right now. Or Saban. I think it's Kirby Smart right now. Eventually maybe Heupel. He could be kind of that in that discussion. If I think it's going to come. I think probably down the road eventually be Tennessee and Georgia as far as your top 2 or 3 best teams. I mean, yeah, LSU's going to probably be in that discussion. Still got to wait and see what Auburn could do. But man, I don't know about Auburn. Already, Hugh Freeze already cleaning house after year 1, and then A&M's still up in the air. I don't think it's going to be Florida. I don't think it's going to be South Carolina. I mean, and then you got Texas and Oklahoma going to be a big factor too, coming in next year with Sarkisian and Brent Venables. Greg says, I think Josh Heupel is gaining a lot of ground. Yeah. And I think Sunday and Monday definitely made a big factor. Made a big factor as far as setting the future goes for next year and the years after. Getting Lance Hurd on Sunday, and then landing George McIntyre on Monday, kind of setting up for her 2025, 26, 27. So, if you want to win national titles, and I'm quoting J.D. PicKell, if you want to win national titles, you got to have an elite quarterback. And I think that's what Josh Heupel is doing right now, is trying to get his elite quarterbacks. We've seen it work before, and I think that's what he wants to get back to it. Especially with the expanded playoff, it's easier now to get to the playoffs somewhat. Z-Dog says Georgia looks unbeatable, all 5-star recruits. That's true. Yeah, Georgia's set for a while. They're definitely the top team in the SEC. They're where Alabama was just 3-4 years earlier. Everybody wants to go to Georgia. Ms. K says, I'm surprised they didn't ask Lane Kiffin to be the coach at Alabama. Yeah. I think it's I think it seemed like, from what I've heard, that not everybody at Alabama really was fond of Lane Kiffin. So kind of left him in a bit of a mess. So I think they were not going to go down that route. So I think Kiff is probably going to stay at Ole Miss for a little bit, but you never know. Something could come up and he can make the jump easy. But, I feel like there's some people at Alabama just didn't like the way Lane Kiffin operates. And like I said, Kiffin and Saban somewhat have a opposite personalities to a certain degree, or at least structures as far as how they view programs and how they run their programs. Hurst says, what information can you share on how schools decide how much money is given in NIL deals? So what I've kind of know, Herb, is I know the University of Tennessee has a couple of NIL companies per se. The big one is Spire Sports. That's their main NIL group. And then they have they got a couple on-campus NIL groups. One is the Volunteer Club. That's the one they really promote more. And then the Players Lounge, which is kind of a collection of different NIL groups. And the University of Tennessee is one of them. And basically, it's just kind of like a little bit of donations. It's mainly donations from your big season ticket holders, your big alumni. And right now, it's just kind of unlimited. So for example, Texas has a lot of billionaires and a lot of billionaires that probably went to the University of Texas, and they love Texas athletics. And hey, well, if you want to get this player, this high recruit player, we'll donate the money to get him there. Because we can do that. So it's very unlimited, and that's kind of where the controversies kind of definitely come into play. Is like, well, certain schools have a lot of donors and people that can contribute to NIL compared to a lot of the other smaller schools, which has kind of always been that way. But definitely, it's more prominent too. I mean, but Tennessee's great in NIL. The Haslams are our biggest donors at the University of Tennessee. Love them or hate them, they do contribute a lot of money to the university. And then, well, Randy Boyd's the president, but he's got some backing from him as far as NIL deals go. So it's just kind of unlimited. And then fans can contribute to NIL deals. You might see if you go to a Tennessee football game or basketball game, they usually run a commercial, be like, "Hey, this is Josh Heupel or Rick Barnes. We're so excited about our teams, and you can contribute to the future of the programs. Just go to the volunteer club, make your donations, and help out student athletes." Basically, hey, we want your money. So it's kind of that deal. So fans can contribute to it, but a lot of the big signings that gets the $100,000 NIL deals or maybe $1 million, a lot of that's from your big donors. But great question, Herb. That's just kind of about about what I know a little bit. Greg says, talking about hoops, wonder which other player will start coming forward in scoring. Gaines made a huge impact against Bama. Scott Ziegler, Knecht, and Adu carrying this team. Yeah, I think. Definitely. I think Gaines is part of it. I really like what Adu has done. And I think Ziegler needs to kind of step up just a little bit, but I agree with everything you're saying, Greg. I think all these guys need to really contribute. And I would also throw in Sandy and James a little bit. Because if, let's say, Knecht gets a cold shooting night, you need to rely on your fifth, 6th year seniors to really pick up the load. Now, I'm not saying Sandy needs to go out and score 30 if Knecht's got a cold night, but to make plays. And same thing with James and make impact. Especially once you get into deep into the college basketball season and guys are getting banged up and, a little bit of injuries here and there. I mean, Knecht already got hurt back in December when he went off against North Carolina, and it took him, about a couple of weeks to really get his game going. And, and finally he's, we see what he's doing. But I think those guys need to, like I said, Sandy and James need to help out when these guys are down. So great question. And then continuing on with Grace says, guys, it feels good to be back and getting back into Tennessee sports. I lost my dad in late October, and it's definitely been a rough few months. We did get to go and enjoy the Citrus Bowl, and now getting to start to enjoy this hoops team. Condolences to you, sir, for your dad. It's as far as the Tennessee sports go. Yeah, it's very exciting to see everybody clicking, and we give a lot of praise about every episode to Danny White, the athletic director, Donnie Plowman, Vice Chancellor at the University of Tennessee, Randy Boyd, school president. You don't have the Game of Thrones stabbing in the back soap opera drama that you've had at the campus, the last decade plus. It has been very nice to see the last 3 years, everybody coming together as a cohesive unit and wants to improve Tennessee athletics in the future. Like with college athletics changing, by the minute with NIL and transfer portal and super conferences and stuff like that, it feels like their vision is very similar. They know that, college athletes is changing, but, Tennessee wants to be a part of the future. And you're seeing, the right coaches being into play, and just feeling very confident of who they're bringing in and who's running these programs and bringing the right quality people in. Grace says, but Sania James seems to be taking a back seat so far. Aqua seems to be struggling, and more playing time for Estella. Yeah. Who looks like he is improving every game. Yeah, we're seeing a lot more JP Estrella playing more. And, I kind of thought he was going to be more of he'll play like in November and early December, but once you get into SEC play, usually Rick Barnes has his 8 guys going. But, Aqua's, Toby Aqua's has been struggling, and Rick Barnes, if you're not playing for him, he's going to find somebody else. So I think Estrella's definitely going to be interesting to see going down the stretch how he can could contribute. But yeah, that's a good one too. And like I said, I think I still like to see Sandy. I mean, I know Sandy and James have been there 5-6 years at this point, and you want to see the future build, but it's that leadership needs to kind of take into place, and hopefully they could still contribute not in, not out. Tracy says, I love how Heupel was at the basketball game the other night and the baseball coaches at the football game. Seems like the coaches are all supportive to each other. Oh, yeah, definitely so, Tracy. I really love this too. And even Rick Barnes, I've seen him a couple of times at some of the football games too. Yeah, it reminds me of kind of in that mid 2000s when you had Philip Fulmer, Pat Summitt, Bruce Pearl, kind of all supporting each other. And I remember, Bruce Pearl showed up to the Lady Vol games with some of the Tennessee basketball team and painted their chests orange for Lady Vols, and Pat Summitt returned the favor, dressing as the cheerleader for one of the men's basketball games. It's very similar. It's a very family oriented run program, and it's very similar to kind of that mid 2000s run. Like I said, Heupel was at the basketball game. Of course, he was also recruiting too. Trying to get George McIntyre, make sure he was coming, and he had a couple other recruits. So a little bit of that. And he's also done that with going to the baseball games too. And then same thing with Tony V. Tony V is, just he lights up a room anywhere he goes. He's very supportive of Josh Heupel. Seems like they got, a good friendship now. And of course, he shows up for Rick Barnes from time to time. I really love all the coaches at the University of Tennessee right now. They all have their own different personalities and their traits, and they really bring the best of each of their ball clubs. And it's just a nice blend up there in Knoxville right now. Any other questions or comments? Can't remember if I gave Tracy a shout out on the Facebook page, but I'll give you one. And Greg a shout out, and Miss Kay a shout out. Man, the cocoa's now kind of got a little cold, but it's all good. It's been a great show tonight, guys. Any other questions or comments? Let's see here. Make sure that's an updated score here. Yeah, 70-55, South Carolina leading Kentucky with 3:01 to go in the second half. So, yeah, I think this is pretty much all over. Definitely kind of a shocking loss, in my opinion, because Kentucky was playing really well, and now they got a tough road game going to Bud Walton Arena on Saturday against Arkansas, even though the Hogs have been struggling themselves. We shall see what happens there. Like I said, let's see here. Phil says, have a great rest of the week, David and Brad at Vol Society. Thank you, Phil. Have a great week yourself. Have a good one, man. Speaking of Vol Society, coming up Friday at noon, make sure you check out Fast Break Friday with myself. This is a drive-through Vol Society live episode where we preview the upcoming college basketball games for the weekend. We preview Tennessee men's game, Lady Vols game, all the SEC men's games, and then just I pick out a few national basketball games. Just kind of a quick, like, minute, 2 minute preview of the upcoming games. And then, like I said, we'll continue with Vol Society Live. Continuing on, actually, Tennessee's playing next Tuesday night, so we'll be back on. Actually, we'll be back on. Next Wednesday night since Tennessee men's basketball's playing. I do want to do another Vol Society Live before we play Kentucky on February the 3rd. So that would be January 31st. Yeah, I can do it that night. I just had to think because I knew I had a commitment coming up. So we'll be back on here on January 31st. That'll be a Wednesday night because, like I said, I want to get on before during Kentucky week. And that's going to be a big week of college basketball too. But I appreciate each and every one of you. We've gone a good 50 minutes tonight. Thank you for watching Vol Society Live. You brought some great topics. We talked football, basketball, baseball, NIL, recruiting, and everything. You guys were fantastic. We'll do this again next Wednesday night. We'll be back on here at 8 o'clock. Kind of just talk about anything and everything. It's even though, most of our viewership is from football, but you guys are fantastic tonight and coming and hanging out with us almost an hour. And enjoy your Tuesday night. Please be kind to each other. Be nice and stay safe. Stay warm. Snow will be gone eventually, and I'm excited about that. And warmer days will be here. Have a great night, everybody. This has been Vol Society Live. Good night, and go Vols.